thanks for coming out in this interesting weather. I'd like to call to order the Rockhill Board of Supervisors meeting for February 20th, 2019. So please join us in the pledge of flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first on the agenda, are there any public comments on the agenda as presented here tonight? Yes, sir.
Is there a place where you will be talking about the compressor? Because there has been some activity on that.
We will have some comments on that. I will have some comments on behalf of
Okay.
what the township has done and what our
Yeah, okay.
committee has done.
Okay, thank you.
Announcements. We will have an executive session following this meeting to discuss the personnel and some real estate. We have before us the consent agenda, gentlemen, for minutes for January 16, 2019. The wind plan review status and escrow release, emergency services report, building, zoning, and building permit report, public works report, planning commission by Chris Thurston, and I put those forth for your review and approval as a group.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda. We talked about confirmed appointments. No confirmed appointments tonight. Okay. So the first report will be the Park and Rec report by Dave Reese.
All right.
Dave.
That was quick.
How's everybody tonight?
Good, how you doing?
Smaller crowd than last, but we got Park and Rec 2019. We had our February meeting last Thursday. We were fortunate to have 4 applicants put in their applications for being part of the Park and Rec. We had 3 residents that were actually in the attendance of the February meeting. Fortunate to have each of them speak a couple minutes, give a little intro about themselves, about why they want to be part of the Park and Rec. Seems like it's a trend now. Everybody wants to be part of the Park and Rec. I'm not sure. But it's a good thing. No, I'm glad. We had 3 great people. Out of that meeting, everybody stayed, was part of the conversation, part of the Park and Rec meeting, actually. They stayed, interjected, had great conversations, great input to the meeting, because we're talking a little bit about Septemberfest, we're talking about Fish and Derby, movie night, stuff like that, upcoming meetings. We have 1 recommendation that we'd like to bring to the Board of Supervisors for one of the residents would be, applicants would be Jody Guitar for the permanent committee member, and the 2 other, Doug Hanson and Bonnie Stump, as the alternates. And we'll accept whatever the Board of Supervisors approves, whatever you guys want to do with that.
I can tell you that I've known Jody for many years. Goes back to Quakertown, known each other for a long time. And I think she's an excellent choice. She's got a lot of good ideas, and I would be in favor of having Jody on as the primary.
Well, as you may not know, Dave, our normal procedure is you make your recommendation like you did, and then the supervisors have the opportunity to call them, speak with the people.
Okay.
And then if they want to choose the same one that you recommend or a different one, then that's fine. Then next month we should be making our decision.
Okay.
That's the way we normally do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to have an opportunity to talk with her.
Okay.
I don't think that you should, I think you should, have you talked to either of the other 2? Even though they made their first.
They each gave an
choice.
introduction. I mean, it was a...
No, I'm talking about the 3 supervisors.
No, you're right.
Oh,
You're right.
you
No,
guys-
you're
You
not.
need to, you
I know
should be
Mr.
speaking
Hanson,
to
but
for Mr. Hanson as well as Bonnie Stump, and so
I
should
haven't
you.
had Bob.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very good. Good point.
Yeah.
So we'll let you guys decide. Whatever you guys decide, we'll be
It's
willing to...
it's on our table.
Yep, absolutely. It's on your table. Whatever
Thank
you guys decide, we are willing to accept and appreciate. We're just happy to have, 3 members of the community step up, actually 4 members step up.
It's actually good, you know that.
Absolutely.
It's been a long time since we had
Yeah.
involvement like that.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
I'd rather have too many than not enough. We got some upcoming events. We have the Fishing Derby coming up on April 20th. It's from 9 to 12. Just before that, we're very fortunate to have a dedication to a previous committee member. Her father built a little free library,
Good library.
which is something that's up and coming, which is bring a book, share a book, bring a book, take a book. It's for kids to bring books, many sizes, many shapes, whatever the forms of these little libraries are. They're all portable, they're in parks, they're in different avenues, different places, different locations. It's something that we've been talking about, and when Kelly was on the board, she brought it to our attention, she did some homework. Her father was handy enough to actually build one for us, and we're gonna dedicate it right before the Fishing Derby. So we're gonna have 100+ kids maybe at the Fishing Derby, and we're gonna dedicate it right before the Fishing Derby starts. So it's just appropriate, it just kind of works out together, where we're gonna have 100 kids able to actually see this new free library and see the availability of it. So dedicating that on that day, right before the Fishing Derby, I'm happy to, I think that's great. In August 24th at 7:30, we're gonna have our movie night. Last year, some of you, if you came with your children, grandchildren, whoever, we had Boss Baby for the movie. We're still finalizing the movie night, or I should say the movie for that night. But it's gonna start about 7:30 that night. Let's see what else, and September Fest. We're talking about giving a little facelift. So we're gonna kind of shuffle around a couple things, see where locations of vendors and everything like that are. A couple different ideas we have. We actually have, not 100% signed yet, I don't believe, is a barbershop quartet. They're gonna be going around and singing and stuff like that. So it'll be really pretty cool. So we have some new events, new ideas on little different locations. Something like that. Let's see what else. As a reminder to the board, we discussed in the Park and Rec meeting for last year, we were talking about the tot lot. Last year's October meeting, we discussed having the approval of one of two, I guess the tot lot, whatever they were, there was two
Playground items.
playground items, yeah, I was gonna think of the names. One was called the Twister, and one was called Pup Tent Climber. So there was two of them. So we were looking to get the approval and the installation cost for one of them this year, whichever would fit the location of what's available in the tot lot as of this year, and then I think there was another one approved for next year. So whatever you guys decide, we'd be happy to move forward with that so we can start planning that.
When will you bring them forward, what they are, what you decide on?
Those were the two that were approved last year in October 2018.
Okay.
They were approved last year, so it was just one of those two, and it was just a matter of putting it on the footprint of the tot lot. Let's see, so it's just those. I think that was it. It's pretty simple, pretty good effective meeting, lots of good conversations, so we're moving along. Yep.
Thanks, Dave.
I move for motion.
I'll make a motion to accept Dave's report as presented.
I'll second.
Moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, ayes have it.
I'm just getting in place.
Mike, how are you?
Mr. Chairman?
Good evening. Kind of happy to see a few people showing up in this weather, but the Conservation Committee, I think we said before, it's a group of volunteers, and we're helping interested landowners conserve their properties based on the Pennsylvania's open space law. And right now, we've got a goal of about 30% of the township's 10,000 acres that we'd like to preserve, and we're about 60% of the way there, so we're doing pretty good. Our last meeting was held on January 17th. Some highlights from the meeting. The open space signs, if you notice, maybe you haven't seen it, but some of them have a little circle in the middle or an oval in the middle that have the acreage that's preserved, and some are missing. The earlier signs are missing those acreage ovals. So we have a plan to put those acreage ovals on the signs. I know when I took the Boy Scouts through the area to go up to the Sailor Preserve, I pointed out some of the preserved properties, and it's impressive to see how many properties we actually have preserved in the area. So we're going to try to put the acreage on so you know how big or small each of these preserved properties are. The preserved property database, we maintain a database of preserved properties, and we've added a new one. It's Deborah and Edward McGann. They just preserved 39-acre farm located on Ridge Road, and it's sort of surrounded by Simmons and Bardsley Road, and they put a conservation easement on that property. And I think that new property addition, along with all the existing ones, is going to be shown on a property map that's in the spring newsletter. So if you're interested, you can see what's been preserved. On the spring newsletter, we also wrote an article on the McGann preservation, and that'll be in there. So you'll get an idea of what it's all about and how we preserved it. And the last thing we try to do at the end of the meeting is go through some newspaper articles of interest to just general conservation, not necessarily West Rockhill. One of them was a recent Philadelphia Inquirer editorial said the Land and Water Conservation Fund, which is a federal conservation program, was not reauthorized by Congress last year. The other one is East Rockhill Township, I think you're pretty well aware, is fighting the East Rockhill Quarry in federal court right now. And I guess the 2 points were that a right to a quarry was not granted and a prospective asphalt plant at the site was denied. So we try to keep abreast of what's going on around the township. Our Conservation Committee meetings are on the third Thursday of every odd-numbered month, so we meet bi-monthly, and they're at 7 p.m. right here at the table, so you're welcome to join us. And if you're interested, we have some very informative booklets, and they're posted on the West Rockhill Township site under the Conservation Committee tab. So if you go on the left side and look there, you can get some nice articles on conserving properties. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael,
Anything else?
for a report.
Thank you.
Question?
I was hearing that all this cold weather's killed some of the insects, the bad insects, like the emerald,
Lanternfly and,
yeah, the lanternfly. Have y'all heard anything about that?
yeah, in Wisconsin where it gets to 20 below, they are being killed, but not here, it's not
though.
cold enough.
Okay.
We actually have the Boy Scouts, I'm a member of Troop 1, they're going through Lenape Park to identify trees that have lanternflies on them. I think the idea is to reduce the population, get rid of the trees that they're going after, to try and reduce it. I don't think you'll eliminate it, but at least
Mike,
reduce it.
I'm sorry, I've heard complaints that they have a problem up at Manderfield too.
I'm sure they do. I
I'm
have
just
one
saying,
at my
if
place.
you get your scouts out for a hike or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a Bucks County Conservation group that's dedicated to the lanternfly, and if you really need to know, I can give you contact information.
I heard it was the emerald ash up there, not the.
Well, the emerald ash borer is another one.
That's gonna take over the entire state of Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah.
The ash trees. I will share with you, Mrs. Furlong, I have signs scaled. You see it on the ash trees, they start to get that yellowish scale on the bark. When that happens, you know that the emerald ash borer have done their job.
Arrived, huh?
Yep,
Yep, the bark just basically in chunks about that big just falls off.
yep.
They burrow, cut underneath it, and you just got a pile of bark. The only way to stop it is cut down every tree.
Well, and that's what a lot of people are doing. I read in the Lancaster farming paper I get, they're timbering the ash that are
To save the
salvageable
wood.
to save what's there right now.
Yeah, we were just up in Nockamixon with the scouts putting owl boxes up, and they're going through and they're not clear cutting, but they're cutting every emerald.
May I comment on this?
I'm sorry?
May I comment on?
Sure.
Cliff Cole,
State your name.
Cliff Cole, Shoecraft Road. You can also inoculate your trees. We've inoculated most of ours on our property. It has to be done every 2 or 3 years. It's arguable whether there is a high cost, but there's also a high cost of removing the tree if it's in a place where it's going to hit a road. So
Yeah, we've done the same thing
Who
on our
does it?
property.
you get
It
a
can
tree
be
guy.
treated.
I can give you a contact. Yeah,
All right, thank you.
I'd make a motion, we accept Mr. Schrammeyer's report as presented.
Second?
Moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mike. Okay. Police report.
Nope.
Blake. Excuse me, Mr. Blake.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Mr. Blake, how quickly?
I would like to change it up.
This is the police report listing the crimes and activities for Pennridge Regional Police Department for January 2019. The department handled 554 calls for service. 282 of those calls were in East Rockhill and 272 were in West Rockhill. And we investigated 23 traffic crashes. 10 crashes were in East Rockhill and 13 were in West Rockhill. 13 were reportable and 10 were non-reportable. We handled 7 Part 1 crimes and 41 Part 2 crimes. And the crimes in West Rockhill are as follows: assault with a weapon, theft, possession of heroin, 2 DUI cases, 3 cases of disorderly conduct, 2 cases of criminal mischief, 1 harassment, 1 public drunkenness, 1 unauthorized use of auto, 2 dog law violations, and 5 ordinance violations. In East Rockhill, the crimes are as follows that were reported: 2 assaults with a weapon, 1 burglary, no force during the day. That's how it's classified in the UCR crime reports. 6 fraud cases, 2 theft cases, 1 weapons on school property, 1 underage drinking, 2 disorderly conduct cases, 1 narcotics possession, 2 criminal mischief cases, 3 harassment cases, 1 DUI, 2 trespass cases, 2 ordinance violations, and 2 dog law violations. The criminal charges filed in January 2019 are as follows: 1 charge for possession of heroin, 1 charge of criminal attempted homicide, 3 charges of simple assault, 3 charges of harassment, 2 charges of aggravated assault, 3 charges of possession of marijuana, 2 charges of possession of drug paraphernalia, 3 charges of DUI, 2 theft charges, 1 fraud charge, 2 receiving stolen property charges, 1 recklessly endangering other persons charge, 1 terroristic threats charge, 2 accidents involving attempted property charge, and 2 disorderly conduct charges. Officers conducted 199 traffic enforcement details. Administrative summary: we did a walkthrough of Pennridge High School Percy Police Department. I met with Pennridge High School staff. We had a canine search at Pennridge High School, and Sergeant Maloney met staff at West Rockhill Elementary going over a unification drill meeting. So that's the police report.
I wanted to bring up these.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, yeah.
At the Picado meeting last weekend, they were giving out these pill pods. A pill pod is a place to safely keep your medicine away from other people in the house. If people come in to work on your plumbing, or you have young children, you want to keep your pills away. This holds about 8 or 9, picture over here, 8 or 9 of the vials that pills come in. There's a combination lock on top. When you open the combination, this whole top comes off, and then you can stick your pills in. I bring it up now because of the drug take-back program, and that's a good central place to put these things. So I'm going down Friday to the Bucks County Drug and Alcohol Commission office in Warminster, and I'm picking up about 24 of those. They put them aside for me, so I will be dropping them off at the police station. So if anybody wants one on Friday or next week or whenever, they'll be in the lobby of the police station. I think it's a pretty good deal. It's free. They said if you run over with a car, you might be able to open it, but other than that, it's pretty solid. So if anybody has any questions, yes, Bob.
Well, that's not a convenient place to put all your drugs so they can just steal them all at once.
Well, I mean, you can look at it that way too. I mean, I'm just saying, it could keep them out of the hands of kids or...
Yeah, probably keep them out,
I mean, you can't, you have to secure that.
You could. But rather than just sitting in
Just
your,
like you secure your goods.
sitting, in your bathroom,
Yeah.
there if you want to, secure your prescriptions, especially if they're opioids.
They claimed, excuse me, Rob, they claimed at the seminar that's how a lot of children get into, start using pills, is they say that they start stealing or taking their grandparents' or parents' medication out of the medicine cabinets.
Just another tool for parents. Just like the gun safety locks, we have them at the station.
Yep.
Just another thing to keep people safe.
And the other thing, if you're finished with your drugs, you can store them in here till you take them over to the police station.
That would be
Drug take
useful,
back.
yeah.
Okay. Just another tool, like Chief Blake said. So they'll be available by Friday afternoon at the
We'll
police
just keep them
station.
at the station with our gun locks and stuff. One last thing real quick, it's pothole season, as everybody knows that, right? If, you know, you come across a pothole and you don't have time to call PennDOT or whatever, just email the station, contact me. If it's on, you know, you don't know, you might not know if it's a state road or township road. We'll make that determination, and if it's something that, you know, the township can handle, we'll pass it on. If it's a state, we'll pass it on to PennDOT, so.
Chief, there is a concern I have of the old 309. That's the condition of it, it's getting pretty bad.
And we have told PennDOT.
Okay, I was gonna ask you maybe to write a letter from the police department, and we're gonna have Greg write a letter from the township here. We are experiencing complaints of that, condition of that road.
Mhm.
Bad.
And what makes it worse, people are using that, people are using that as an alternate versus 309 when it gets backed up from 3 to 6 o'clock.
Mhm.
So it has greater chances of having some serious problems there. So I agree with Jay. I tried it myself and it's like
Mine.
mine, yeah.
Mhm.
Minefield. All right, I'll make a motion to accept Chief's report. Is that it?
Second.
Do it just a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Well done.
I'm sorry.
Yes or no, I was a little bit late, I have a question for you.
For me or the board?
Well, for
Oh,
you.
okay.
One comment is about the speeding that occurs up the bypass. I'm sure other people would have the same complaint, because if you're going 65 miles an hour, people go by you, you're doing 80.
Mhm.
The other comment is about Old Bethlehem Pike, and I don't know if that's what Mr. Kaiser was referring to when you said Old 309? Okay.
It's Bethlehem Pike,
Bethlehem
it's just
Pike.
Bethlehem Pike.
Yeah, okay, right. There is another old,
Yes.
because I would confirm what he was saying. And one night I was going down that road at a very, respectable speed, and two cars went by me racing, and they kicked up so much stone from the loose stone that was on that road. They cracked my windshield, and they were going so fast, I couldn't even tell you what state the plates were. That's just to let you know that is
Okay.
going on, and they're not joking about the condition of the road.
Okay, thank
This
you.
is right just prior to the teepee, or the,
The PennDOT shed is.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
we'll address your concerns with PennDOT. I'll, take care of that. I think it's best if it comes from me, and I'll have to include Greg in on that contact. 'Cause we do have a contact, the Finland Road, PennDOT contact. That guy seems to take action when we, ask him things, so.
Maybe the state police can ramp up a little bit activity.
Yeah.
On the bypass.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Okay, next item on the agenda is the Joint Rec Authority. Jim, you have a report on that?
Yeah, we're just all getting excited about getting ready to open in the end of May. We've got our new manager on board, Karen Lease, and she's already working with the lifeguards. We've got most of our lifeguards coming back. We've got a few new ones that are coming in that will need training and also some certification. We're in the final stages of signing a contract for the snack bar. We've got a lady who actually is a longtime pool member. Her kids have been at the pool for a long time, and she works in a local school running the cafeteria. So she has a lot of experience with food, and she liked the way the old menu was, so we're kind of going back to the old way the pool was years ago. So we're really excited about that. And we put bids out to paint the pool. The pool will be painted by opening day. So everything's looking good right now. That's about it.
I have one question.
Yeah.
Jim, last month I asked if the board could be provided a copy of the season ticket holders from
Yeah,
last year.
Suzanne had put that together. I thought she passed it to you.
Did she?
Maybe she did.
I haven't seen it.
I'll check with Suzanne in the
I
morning.
didn't see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I'm just bringing that up.
No, thank you. She did do it though.
Okay.
I know, I saw her put it together.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I move approve the report by Jim for the
I'll second it.
Joint Rec. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, ayes have it. Tax collector's report, and Suzanne is not here. I hope she's out collecting money.
Suzanne could not make it tonight. In your packet is her report. For the month of February, she collected $122.07. It is the slow time of the year. The
Yeah.
tax bills will soon start to be printed and go out.
Craig, you know, we got the report from Bucks County on delinquent taxes.
Yes.
That seems to be growing pretty rapidly.
Well, it always fluctuates. It always goes up and then slowly comes down.
There are a
and then it
couple
goes
are really big,
Yes.
and that's what really shoots the total, but that's township money we're not getting, so.
Sooner or later, they will lien the properties and then put them up for a sheriff's sale.
Anybody have any comments on the,
I have none. I'd make a motion to approve the tax collector's report.
I'll second.
okay, moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Engineer report, Mr. Baloo.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. What I have on the engineering report tonight has to do with our township stormwater management plan. Are you familiar with the MS4 plan? It's a municipal separate storm sewer plan that we're mandated to have in place by DEP, and they're mandated to have the program through the EPA. We've had the MS4 program for many years. It's a 5-year cycle, and we might be on our 3rd or 4th permit of that. It dates back to the early 2000s. This latest cycle, they've added a new component that they're calling a pollution reduction plan. So that's what we're here to talk about tonight. The MS4 program addresses storm sewer systems and storm sewer conveyances, so roadside swales and things within the urbanized area of the township. And by urbanized, they define that as through census tract information. So it's all the area south of East Branch, Perkiomen Creek in the lower end of the township, and then like from Lawn Avenue out to Bethlehem Pike along Ridge Road and a little bit up Bethlehem Pike. Now there's only a subset of that area is addressed in the pollution reduction plan, and that's streams that are impaired due to siltation within that urbanized area. And in our township, that's Mill Creek, which is where the arch bridge is on Clymer Ave. That's Mill Creek that goes under there. And then 3 Mile Run, that leads to the Tuhican Creek, and the Tuhican is impaired. So those are the areas that we were meant to address by the pollution reduction plan. Last year, we put together a pollution reduction plan. We advertised it just like we have tonight. The township voted to approve it. We sent it to DEP, and they resoundingly rejected our plan, as well as just about everybody else's plan in the state. Between the initial submission and now, they've come up with a whole new set of guidelines for us to follow to prepare the plan. So apparently they reviewed all the plans, picked what they liked out of the bunch, and then set them as our new standards. The one good thing is that they agreed to review our information in steps. So since our plan was rejected last year, we've submitted in steps all of our new information, including the draft plan that's on the website. And they're agreeable to all the information we have if that's the plan that the township adopts tonight. So long and short of it, the pollution reduction plan is intended to minimize sediment that gets into streams, because that's their concern, that pollution contaminants attach themselves to sediment. So if you could reduce the sediment, you'll reduce other contaminants that get to streams. And they came up with a bunch of formulas on how you do these calculations. It boils down to, we have to propose projects within our next 5-year cycle to construct that will reduce sediment loading to streams. The 2 basic ones that we've narrowed it down to is modifications to some of the older stormwater management basins. Some of those basins that aren't wetland basins or have a concrete channel in them, they just flush right out. They don't have time to clean the water. And repairs to stream banks that are eroded. You get a lot of credit for doing naturalization and stabilization of stream banks. So we identified 4 potential projects that are listed in the pollution reduction plan. Two of them are stream bank projects. One would be actually along 3 Mile Run through the Fedigardi property. And the other would be along Mill Creek, either on either side of Clymer Avenue, either on the Mill Creek Manor side, or the upper side goes through the open space of, I forget what we call that, John Garris's
Right.
development,
Yeah, right.
Woodspring
Woodspring.
Circle. So those would be the two stream bank projects that we've proposed. Mostly because we had access, there's good access to them, there is erosion to the stream bank, and there's a long enough section that we can get the benefit we want. And then two other areas are two stormwater basins. Difficulty there, as you're aware, all of the stormwater basins in the township are privately owned. So ultimately, we will have to talk to homeowners associations to get, and property owners to get approval. And a lot of our basins are of the newer style, because, we had that big push in development in the 2000s, and those are all the newer style. But two of the older basins that we've identified is over on Luray Circle. There's a basin behind the houses in the back of that cul-de-sac. And also there's one in Mill Creek Manor at the end of the cul-de-sac. So those are the two suggested basins to make improvements to, and the two stream bank areas to make improvements to. That's what's listed in the plan. We're not necessarily married to those, but that's what we've identified at this point. If something else becomes more available, or we can't work out an arrangement with any of these property owners, we'd have the ability to look at other areas. But we had to identify specific target projects. We couldn't just say, we're going to fix two basins in the township and not say where they are or what we would do to them. So that's what we selected. Again, we can only look in those certain areas. We can only look in the Mill Creek section area, and then over along 3 Mile Run. And there's not a lot of 3 Mile Run in the township, really. It's just the tail butters of that. So we did advertise this again in the Intel. We established a 30-day public comment period. To my knowledge, we did not receive any public comment, written or otherwise. If there's any public comment tonight, that could be recorded before you take action on this. But ultimately, what we need is for you to take action on this plan, and then we will send it back to DEP for final approval. And once it's approved, we'll have 5 years to work on these projects. Essentially, through the next cycle of our permit. And at this point, there's no funding for it, so that'll be the first, I guess, goal, is to figure out some budgets. There is some budget numbers in here, but we'll have to figure out where that money will ultimately come from.
So we need to conduct a hearing tonight?
No.
If you need to open for public comment.
Does anyone have any public comments on what Steve has just outlined? Yes, Mike.
I have one related to that, if I may. Michael Strohmeyer at Sterners Road. There's two state roads. One is Finland Road, the other is Upper Rockydale Road, or not Upper Rockydale, Upper Ridge Road. Both of them have driveways that are pouring water onto the road, and they're both state roads. But what is the procedure for getting, PennDOT or getting the landowner to rearrange their driveway a bit? Because in the instance of Finland Road, the water comes across right where they put the whole barrier along the side to protect cars and things. Well, now you've got a big patch of ice, and when the cars drive on, they carry the ice down the hill, so the whole hill is full of ice. PennDOT does put salt down, but that's not a solution, that's just covering up the problem.
You can contact me and I'll contact PennDOT to try to get them to do something
Okay.
about it.
I'll send you an email or something on it.
Michael, this is an issue that we've been dealing with for years here in the township, and I've addressed, Cat Hill Road is an area where there's been a lot of problems. They should have trench grates, so the water goes in the trench grate and in the ditch before it goes out onto the roadway. But it's very difficult to get PennDOT to write the proper letters to the property owners to get that done.
Yeah, it's really getting the
Township has been doing, we've been doing a good job on township roads. We've addressed several of those issues around the township, and they do work, so it is an issue. And I thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic that PennDOT spent all that money putting rails up and
Yes.
arrows, and then they have ice coming across there, so, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Tony.
Tony Boger, Clymer Avenue. I just have a question about that. In a perfect world, we don't live in, but if you couldn't obtain right away in those retention basins and the creek bank was solid, what would DEP, what would they expect you to do?
There are some other options you could do. I mean, some of them sounds simple, but it's not. Street sweeping. The problem is you have to sweep the streets every week. You have to document the volume of material that you sweep up off the streets, and it's not as easy as it sounds. But that's one option. There's some inlet filter types of things you could do, or specialized inlets that you could install at the sort of the downstream end of a run. They have these cyclone inlets that create a vortex in them and more or less spin out the sediment in them. But again, that's something where you have to measure the actual volume of the
So they're
sediment. that you
expecting the
collect.
township to spend money on something,
Oh,
whether it
yes.
works or not.
Yes.
Oh, it's,
Your
We
understanding.
went round and round about this the last time, and we
I
were
know.
told we were forced that we had to do this.
I know, it's just when you think, I mean, I would assume like, you're gonna use gabion baskets or something
No, you have to naturalize the stream banks. You have to cut them back. You got to do like koi rolls on them and revegetate them.
Because by the time you do all that, I mean, I know you have, silt sock and fillers and everything, but it just seems like by the time you do that, you just let more sediment go just from the construction of it. You know what I'm saying? It just seems silly, but.
Yeah, I will say the one stream it is a challenge would be Mill Creek. Because of the nature of that, that really rocks the road when it rains. And it's turned brown in an instant.
I can share with you this. I know 3 Mile Run Creek pretty well because it runs through my property, and there is no soft sediment anymore. It's all down to clay. The banks that are there are clay, and of the rain we had over the past year, most of the banks in almost all the streams that I view, and I get around to a lot of them in the township and around this area, they're down to the clay. So they're really, I don't know what we're going to do.
But that's
a straightaway there that he's talking about along the Fedegari, so maybe there is some space there to create or to improve
Because
something.
the Perkiomen, I mean, I know that's not on the thing, but that's down to rock. I mean, you're not gonna get,
That's what you have at my place is red shale. You
Yeah.
have the red shale, it runs over the red shale, and then the banks are clay, and they haven't gone anywhere in, 30 years that I've been there. Anyway.
Yeah, and it's not appropriate, that option's not appropriate on every stream. It's just one of the items that you can do. And it actually, you get very good credit for doing it. So if you can identify an area, you get a lot of bang for your buck on that type of project, more so than you do on some of the other projects. And that, it comes from someone's experimentation on the benefit of those projects. They've came up with an empirical formula that says if you fix X amount of stream bank, you'll get this much, pounds per year benefit of reduced sediment to a stream. And those are the numbers we have to meet.
They do a lot of desk work. These are make-work, unfunded projects.
I think you picked a good experimental area though, the stretch of the Fedegari, and Mill Creek. You did pick two good areas.
Yeah, those seem to be, and they wouldn't even accept just for us to list them. We had to send them pictures to show them the area and prove to them that it was a viable area to list as a
They've been there to
potential
look at
project.
it, right?
Excuse me?
They've been there to look at it.
No, just from the photographs.
Just check. Okay. Anybody else have any more comments? Oh, John, I think you had your hand raised.
Yeah, thanks, Don. John Sportuck, Ridge Valley Road. Steve, did you work up cost estimates for these projects, and was cost a factor in the projects that you chose?
We do have some basic cost information. It's strictly a construction cost and not anything to do with the permitting and if there's any land acquisition costs. And it did not necessarily drive what projects we've chose. It was more of a what's feasible. Just for an example, let's see here, the Mill Creek, stabilization along Mill Creek is approximately a $90,000 to $110,000 project. The two basin projects are more like $10,000 projects. Again, they're less of cost, but they're also, you get less credit for doing those. And the other stream bank, the Fedegari stream bank, was estimated as $30,000 to $36,000. Part of that difference is the length of stream bank.
So that's somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000 right now for the two projects.
No, for all four projects, we're talking
150,000.
plus 100 and, yeah, 150 at least.
150,000 at least.
At
yeah.
least.
At least.
And that's not permitting, and that's just, construction.
Totally unfunded.
At this point, yes. And I don't anticipate that there will be granted. Although, you may be able to piggyback some grants. There's some Growing Greener grants that could do some stream bank works. There's some vegetation grants along stream banks, like Tree Vitalize, where you could get part of the funds for it. Or even possibly like a DCNR grant or something. So there's not, what I mean to say by unfunded, there's no specific grant money to do MS4 work, but there may be an opportunity for some other grant programs to pay for part of this work.
So this, we have 5 years once it's accepted.
Yes.
So when do you get those grants? You're working on, you have to get them ahead of time, right? So you know you're going to have the money.
Right. We would need to do a little bit of preliminary work, enough preliminary work to be able to use that to submit for a grant. So we would need to do some work in the first year or two, some planning work in the first year or two to try and apply for a grant to get it. So you had it by the 4th or 5th year to actually do the construction.
So we probably need to know what that preliminary work would cost first, right?
Yes. And we can work that up. Once they approve our plan. I wouldn't want to spend too much time on it now, just in case they change the rules on us again.
Okay, anything else, Steve?
No.
Okay. I entertain a motion for approval of Steve's report.
Make a motion.
To move to Jim.
I'll second.
Second.
We need a specific approval of the draft PRP.
Okay, so put forth a motion for that.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Not happy about it, but we're forced to do it.
And moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think it's a bunch of made-up work myself.
And now, approve Steve's report.
Make a motion to approve the engineer's report.
I'll second it.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Solicitor's report, Ms. Everett.
The only thing under the solicitor's report this evening is a resolution to approve the comprehensive plan, and since Greg has the comprehensive plan comments under his report, it probably is better to wait to adopt the comprehensive plan after we've had a chance to comment on it.
Okay.
So if you don't mind, I won't have a report tonight.
I move to approve Mary's non-report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Township manager, Mr. Lippincott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The treasurer's report for January 31st, 2019 is up on the board. The general fund, $376,516.34. Highway aid, $78,536.34. Open space, $841,598.39. The park fund, $7,391.22. The equipment fund, $220.79. highway capital, $126.65, street light, $31,412.40. The reserve funds, general fund reserve, $343,403, open space Manderfield, $50,599, sewage maintenance fund, $170,442.94, the stormwater fund, $5,419.58, and the escrow funds, $349,939.66. You also have a copy of the list of the bills.
Okay, I hear a motion for approval of the financial report.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, the move in second, and I'll add that pay the bills and all subject to order. With that,
Aye.
all in favor? Okay.
The next item on the report is the comprehensive plan update. That has been presented at the comprehensive plan meetings, it's been presented at the planning commission meetings, it's been presented at the Board of Supervisors meeting at last month's meeting. So it's been advertised tonight for a public hearing for any public comment. The board has to open up a hearing and anyone can give public comment on the comprehensive plan.
So with that, I'll open up the floor for hearing with comments relative to the comprehensive plan. Those of you who've had a chance to review it, look at it. It's, I think it's well done. We have a real good group this year, and it goes beyond where we went in the first comprehensive plan because we had more background. We're ready to spend more time on that. And John was with us in that group, and a number of planning commissions, and Bob Strobel from the Park and Rec. And we had a year and a half of work on that, and I think it turned out well. I thank you, John, for your efforts. And your wife, by the way, she was a major contributor. She kept us in check all the time.
Thank you so much. But could I please say something?
Certainly.
I would like to also credit where credit is due. Bucks County sent us a very excellent professional to work with, Chris Stockney. He was a major contributor, and I think a good portion of how well that plan turned out was because they sent us someone so well trained.
He was very skilled.
Very, very.
Anyone have any other comments? Yes,
Yeah, I have one question. I remember, I'm Cliff Cole, Shoecraft Road. I remember when he gave the presentation, there was some mention of trails that, there were trails that they're trying to establish or are already there or whatever. And they were talking about trying to get volunteers to work on, is that part of Parks and Recreation? Does that come under that?
Yeah, and that was addressed as strong as it was because we did a survey throughout the community, and that was the number one subject that was on the top of the list for trails. Second was that to maintain low taxes, which is typically maybe the first one, but it was certainly number one, and that is appropriately incorporated in the comprehensive plan. We have a separate park and rec and open space or conservation and trails plan that exists, which those groups prepared, I guess about 4 or 5 years ago. So in the comp plan, we have a charge to move forward with that trail planning. So that's a big factor. And we have the atmosphere and the environment to create some really great trails because, excuse me, of the amount of woodland and open space and so forth that we have. So it could be a great opportunity for the community. At least that's my perspective and other people's perspective. So that's a big factor.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions about the plan? If you haven't read it or looked at it, I'd suggest take a look at it. There's some interesting facts and history and new thoughts that are in there that basically it's a strategy of where this community is going to go in the next 15 years. So I think it would be important for you to take a look at that and if nothing else, read the summary. They also have some great photography in there. So does anybody else have any questions, comments, critiques? Seeing none, I'll close the hearing and we'll put this to vote for approval of the 2018 comprehensive plan as presented to cover the next 15 years of the strategy for this township.
And to that end, we prepared a resolution specifically adopting it. It would be Resolution 2019-05. So your motion could simply be to adopt the comprehensive plan through Resolution 2019-05.
Well spoken. So said.
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
You second the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is part of the 2019 budget is to replace the roof on the Public Works building. The board has 3 quotes. The low quote is from Tim Schaefer for $18,125. I would be looking for authorization from the board to approve the Tim Schaefer quote.
I've looked at all 3 of the quotes, and I find, I think Mr. Schaefer has a good reputation, and I would be willing to make a motion to approve that bid.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, ayes have it. Move on.
Okay. The next item is authorization to advertise for administrative assistant, part-time. At the end of March, Judy Decker, the township secretary, will be retiring. So part of the 2019 budget was a part-time administrative assistant. So I would look for authorization to advertise that position.
Okay,
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
And we would like the opportunity to interview, or at least have discussion.
Well,
Part of it.
you're the people that have to appoint, so. Next item is, there's a memo in your packet, let me get to it, okay? For video and audio taping township meetings. I put together suggestions for what the rules should be, and if you so approve, we'll form a resolution for next month's meeting. The number 1 should be, there should be no recording devices in any aisleway, so that for fire and safety reasons. No recording device shall be greater height than the person sitting in a chair. This is so to ensure that everyone can see in the back. And that no audio-video devices can be placed on the township dais or tables.
You might explain why that.
Well, the reason for that is sometimes the township solicitor may have to give legal advice to the board, and we don't want a microphone to be able to pick that up.
Okay.
Those are the 3 rules.
Do you gentlemen have any questions or concerns?
I have no questions. I would be willing to move forward with this.
I would too. I'll make a motion to
Okay.
accept it.
And I would second.
Okay.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
And I think that's all on my list.
Okay, any old business?
Yeah, in the same line, we had talked about videotape, having the township videotape and make copies and keep copies available for residents of these meetings. And you had said you wanted to think about it some more, Don, so.
Yeah, I'd like for us to have some more discussion to make sure we haven't really talked about it in detail, of how we do that, and who takes pictures, and who manages it, and who distributes it, and where do we store it. But, typically, I guess my view is, we haven't really had a need for that. The public does it, they have a right to do it, we can't stop them. I'm just wondering, do we need to do it as well? So I don't know, Jay, do you have any thoughts?
I've given my thought publicly. I'm not in favor of it. We have people right here taping now. I count 3 cameras in this room right now. There's no reason for the township to get involved in it.
And my opinion is that we need an official copy that the township can authorize and keep on the server downstairs, and people that can't make the meetings, then they can just log on to the website, the West Rockhill website, click on a link and get the entire video or any video of the past.
Okay.
That way we know it's a complete set, unedited, everything's right there.
David, I think you were first.
Thank you. David Collingwood, Barton Road. I find it hard to understand when the solicitor has indicated that the private citizens do not have to share their audio or video with anyone. In fact, some of these people have already put it online and marked it private, and it's been we have been unable to look at it. So it's not available to the general public just because it is being videotaped by private citizens. Number two.
Are you pointing at me, David?
No, I am not, I'm sorry. The police have recommended that this is a public building and one of the few in the township that doesn't have audio and video cameras up. We have a tax collector in the back that's collecting thousands of dollars in tax dollars. We have a woman who's going to be a clerk by herself if the township manager is out doing building inspections until once Judy leaves, and we don't know when we're going to have a new hire. Single person in the building. It just doesn't make sense that we can spend thousands of dollars for a few other things that I'm not in favor of, but we can't pay $500 for video equipment that would be a benefit to every person in this town.
Yeah, I think you're talking about a different subject than what Jim's talking about. Jim's talking about videotaping these movies, or these meetings. What I understand you're talking about is video and activity outside the building.
I'm talking about both because at the last meeting, it was brought up that we should have cameras not only in this room to videotape these meetings, but we should have it in the lobby for the protection of the people in the building. And that's why the police made the comment that they did, that they are in favor of it and they recommend it.
Well, their comment was strictly in relating to video cameras outside on the building. They didn't comment about videoing these meetings.
So what is your issue with having cameras in this building, in the meeting? Your comment the last meeting was that the township may order the content of the video. You are the township. You control that. You're the board of supervisors.
I misunderstood what I said.
No.
The accusations will be there. It's somebody's opinion if they don't see something on the video that we produced. The accusations are that we modified the video. And we don't need that kind of activity going on in this, to run this activity. It's unnecessary.
Most progressive townships not only videotape the meetings, they put them on television for people to view, for the taxpayers to see. Go look. You can look at Hatfield. You can look at any progressive township. It's about time that we step up and do that. It's a nominal fee to have these meetings and a camera in place to have them videotaped. And Jay, Jay, you said that you weren't in favor because we couldn't afford it. That was your comment at the last meeting.
I don't think I didn't say that we couldn't afford it.
Yes, you did.
I've never been in favor of the township getting involved in videotaping meetings ever, since I've been a supervisor. Never.
And we've had a lot of pressure.
We don't need to be involved in that. We have citizens that
Comcast,
videotape.
Verizon.
My time.
Yes, you are.
You are.
Mike speaks, I just wanted to clarify something. The police, I think it was Sergeant Maloney, did say that it would be good to have these meetings videotaped in case they need that for evidence later because of something that happened in the meeting. So there was comments about videotaping in here as well as putting something out there. I just wanted to add that.
Michael?
Yeah, Michael Schromeyer, Stearns Road. I'll try to make it brief. I strongly advise that you videotape the meetings, and I think the outside security is a very good idea because if you've seen in the past, we've had a few contentious meetings that gets carried out into the hallway. And I think the evidence collection is one item. The other item is, it's agreed that people can, private citizens can videotape. However, number one, it's disruptive when you have a private citizen telling people where to stand and what to say, and where to say it instead of the supervisors who are supposed to be running the meeting. The second one is, these tapes may be edited by private citizens before they're posted. And somebody looking at that tape has no idea what part was cut out or what was edited, and most of the editing is for their own private group to promote their own agenda. So unless the township produces a video that goes streaming straight to the server or straight to a TV where other people could be watching the meeting live, you have no idea what went on in this meeting, because the tapes you could be looking at from private citizens have been edited. Or as David said, that may not even be shown in the public. They may be private because they don't fit their agenda. So I strongly urge that you spend a couple hundred, we're talking $500 here or whatever, to put a couple cameras in here for the meetings, put some security cameras outside. Everybody else is doing it. It's a technology of the day. I don't know why you don't even think about doing it. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate your input. So, anybody have any more thoughts or comments? Nope. I mean, my understanding was the last time we decided we would address that when we sat down and started working out, figuring what we're gonna do to the entrance of this building. And so,
We'll get filmed over here.
I think that would be appropriate time. And, you know, my concern is video, if it's done, produced by some,
Don, if you're talking to me, could you please get closer to the mic? I cannot hear
people
you.
are not going, they're not gonna come, they stay home and watch the TV. It's more important to have people hear this meeting and have a direct interchange than 6 weeks later or a week later, somebody comes in and they wanna have a debate about what the discussion was. Whereas they're here, come to the meetings and they're here, they can have that discussion and everybody can hear it and be a part of it. That's a big factor in these township meetings, and I think we would lose that.
I respectfully think that's a very bad argument to make, because we're making special provisions for taxpayers to come in who are handicapped, or go see them if they're handicapped. You expect handicapped people to show up at every meeting?
No, what's the relevance?
And they should be involved. And we should use technology to let them be involved.
Move on.
I'm sorry, I'm finished.
Going with Barn Road, my take on that is, you're expecting all 4,000 residents of the township to come to this meeting. We can only sit 40 people in this room, but if it was on videotape, every one of them could sit and watch the replay, or even be here and go home and watch it again. There is not physically, it's not capable to have everybody in the township in this meeting, as you suggested. Just can't happen. The video takes care of that.
I don't think I suggested everybody, I said we have more people come, so let's keep it within bounds of what we're talking about. My suggestion is we have solid input from various individuals, and we table this and we talk about it among the board as to what the plan would be for the whole scope of whatever we record. That's what I propose.
Like a sugar. Don, you've tabled things before and just let them ride for 18, 20 months. That's just a method of saying no. I think you should consider it, not just table it.
I would debate 18 or 20 months, but there may have been 1 or 2 cases over 18 years that was done, but you're talking like it's done all the time, it's not. So you want to make a comment, Jim?
I just said Tony had a question.
Oh, good, Tony.
Yeah, Tony, Clymer Avenue. Two things is that if you were to consider cameras, I would make it 2 separate issues. Cameras on the building versus cameras in the room. But my question is, while you're tabling and thinking about it, would be that if the township were to videotape that, does that mean that privately it would not be allowed to be videotaped? Because my concern would be is if the township's equipment malfunctioned, we have 3 cameras in here, and 3 people can see it, and the township's equipment didn't work. That would be my concern. So, whatever.
I don't believe legally we can ban anybody from videotaping this meeting.
I think you can though, I think you can if the,
I don't think so.
It's a public meeting,
Public
Tony.
meeting, you can't.
Public meeting, people are perfectly, it's perfectly legal to videotape the meeting. So
that was, I got the answer to my question.
Okay.
There's enough people taping, that's all I have to say.
Okay, we're gonna table it, despite of, I understand your viewpoint, but I don't necessarily agree with the frequency you talk about. Okay, new business.
I have none.
I have none.
Have none? Okay. Public comment. Before we do that, I promised the young man, and I want to praise where we are, we think we are, on the Adelphia gas compressor station that's proposed to be installed up off Rich Hill Road. There are a lot of things going on, a lot of things we don't know about it. There's a lot of things that we do know about, and we're attempting to find out. I can tell you this, in the past 4 or 5 days, I've had 3 conversations with Fitzpatrick. I've had 3 conversations with Greg Stats. Greg Stats, either this afternoon or tomorrow morning, will be meeting with the Adelphia people in Harrisburg. His objective, as he told me, his only objective is to find out from them why they're not talking with us and communicating with us on this project. So he will report that to me tomorrow afternoon, if his meeting is tomorrow afternoon. Fitzpatrick, he has a person dedicated working on this, documenting everything. We provided most of the documents that we have, and we presented to FERC and so forth. They have that in Fitzpatrick's office, so they're fully up to speed with the data. And Fitzpatrick has now written 3 letters to Adelphia and to FERC on this subject in terms of opposing the location of the station. We have had 1 meeting in December with FERC, or with Adelphia, not very successful. It was supposed to be concerning emergency management, which there was virtually nothing about emergency management talked about. My view, and I think the people who were at that meeting share it, the people there, if they knew what they were talking about, they sure didn't indicate that. You know, we asked the question, how many other stations do they have? And they said none. I said, have you ever had one? And they said no. So that's where we're starting with this crowd. And it's obvious they're using consulting firms, legal counsel, and so forth to put together this whole package that they have. It's been presented to FERC. As you all know, the deadline date for comment was February the 3rd. FERC has put out a notice. They've now extended that to March 1st. So for reasons of shutdown, I think. And so there's still time, if you have any individual comments or thoughts, to put them in. The more they get, the more important that is to their analysis of this situation. Tomorrow, Mr. Lippincott will have a meeting with members, representatives of Adelphia, and the purpose of their being here, as he advised me, is that they are coming to apologize because of the way they've not communicated with us. There have been several letters written with that tone in the letter that was not happening, and it was a fact. Mary has just written a letter on our behalf in the past week, firmly confirming that same subject. So we are putting a lot of pressure on. There are 241, I believe, people who have responded to the comments on FERC. So the more we get in there, the better it is.
Actually, Cliff Cole, Sugarcraft Road, it's actually over 400 at this point, including one written by Mr. Lippincott, I'm surprised you didn't mention, that was done in the name of West Rockhill Township Supervisors. I'd just like to comment that it was extremely well written, and the research and the amount of effort put into that was very much appreciated by at least this private citizen. I do
want to add to you there, Mr. Cliff. The parties involved between Greg, the solicitor, and the engineer really took our comments at the DEP meeting,
right,
and really comprise them together in that.
But there was more than that. There was also.
Absolutely.
There was
but they
also
really
mention
listen.
of the whole pipeline and the concern of the quarry dynamite, dynamite
Sure.
at the quarry being in close proximity to the actual pipeline itself, which is above and beyond the compressor
Thank you for commenting
station.
on that.
So, yeah.
Both,
So,
the letter that the staff put together, which Mary composed with their input, was, as you said, very effective,
Well,
very well done.
the other comment that I'd like to make, and it's just a request perhaps, is that there has been some citizen meetings that have been happening over this, and one of the frustrations was that the West Rockhill, that Richland Town was not getting involved or wasn't doing anything. Well, that has changed. The Richland Township is now vocally opposed to it, and in fact, it was even a topic of the Quakertown School Board meeting. So there's, and I talked to Representative Stats about that. The other comment I have to make is that you mentioned Stats and Fitzpatrick. What about Casey? Casey is known to be an environmentalist, and I have contacted him, his office.
Okay.
So,
Has he responded?
they've responded, but I haven't connected, if that makes any sense. Yes. They are aware of the issue.
We also have a group of citizens, I think there's 7 of us that are working on this. We've also submitted comments and papers and so forth to work, and we've met with them in December, and now we're meeting with them again tomorrow night. Be a group of 7 or 8 people that meet with the representatives from Philadelphia. And we have 20-some questions we are expecting and hopefully getting answered. So,
And I've also noticed that there's a link to the FERC on the website now. I assume that was put up by Mr. Lippincott. So these are all steps in the right direction.
well, we're hoping to have success. Mr. Linden.
I have a question. Is this going to be a verbal apology to Greg? Shouldn't Adelphi be presenting you with a written apology for their behavior?
We'll have, Greg has invited me to join it tomorrow.
Well,
and we will,
I mean, something besides some words.
well, yeah, that's, we're gonna hear what they're saying, and we're gonna tell them we want it in writing.
Okay.
Well, we don't want it.
Beg pardon?
We don't want it, not the apology. We don't want the compressor.
No.
That should be made clear.
We want the apology for the way they've been treating us. We got plans, and they're not very complete plans. We got them from Bucks County, and they had them since the 14th of December. We met with them on the 17th of December, and they told us the plans wouldn't be, any plans wouldn't be available until after the first year, probably the middle of January. And we've seen nothing except what Greg got from Bucks County. Steve got it, so it's an all-round non-discussion, as far as we're concerned. And we've never had any discussion about any plan, any submittal relative to ordinances and so forth that are being violated by what they're saying. If they're going to do what they say they're going to do. And there are violations of the wetlands as well, so it's a mess. And they're using old technology in the station. When there's new technology, a lot of this problem wouldn't exist if they use electric motors to drive, to create the issue versus
We don't want that
gas
either.
engines.
We don't want electric motors either.
If it's going to be, it should be played. And we don't know if it's going to be. We're going to continue to fight it, but we'll see. Keep fighting. But thank you for your interest. Anyone else have any questions or comments? Tony?
Thanks, Don. The consent agenda for the planning commission, is that going to be the way it is now? That it's going to be in with the consent
No, the planning, it's in the consent agenda because the meeting was canceled.
Okay.
So there was no report to give, and if there's no report to give, it gets put up into the consent agenda.
Okay.
It'll move back down,
Okay,
but it was canceled due to the snowstorm.
okay.
An example, the Conservation Committee does have a meeting there in the consent agenda where it's appropriate.
When you said it, you didn't say that it was canceled, that's why I wasn't sure.
Yeah, we put a memo in the consent agenda saying that it was canceled. So when you download the whole agenda, a piece of paper's in there saying that it was canceled.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Yes, John?
John Swartlock, Ridge Valley Road. I want to go back to the camera issue again, just to put my own 2 cents in. I think we need to look at it in terms of safety and security. You know, one of the things being part of the comprehensive plan, we value and treasure our rural environment that we live in here. But in some of the meetings that took place with the quarry, there were some borderline out of control moments there, both in the planning commission meetings and the supervisors meetings. The issue with the compressor station, there were a couple of borderline out of control moments. It's the fact of the world today that sooner or later, those things happen everywhere when things go over the line. And I think, as was mentioned before, if you've got a single employee in the building during the day, or whether you have a contentious meeting here for your own safety and security, I would suggest that you pursue the issue of putting cameras in the building. Thank
All right,
you.
thank you for your input. Yes, ma'am?
James Strom, Tower Road. I want to agree with that, because the way everything is anymore, you really do need videos, you need proof that something happens. I'd like to be, you want people to get involved with the township. What better way to have a place on your website that they know that they can go to that particular spot, look at something that was done by the township, and say, yeah, I want to get involved in that, I want to get involved in this, I want to help with the township. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't want your meetings videotaped. I don't see any reason why. By the township, at a spot where township residents can go and look at it, period.
Okay,
That's all.
thank you for your input. For being part of the consideration. As all the other comments will be. Any more comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion? Second.
So moved, all in favor? Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you all for coming. Thanks for your input.